Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 confusing British slang terms. For this list, we'll be looking at the weird and wonderful phrases and words that have their roots in British culture and try our best to explain them. Do you have a favourite British slang term? Let us know yours below. Number 10. Full of beans.
Full of beans and spunk.
Hearing this phrase, the first thought is that someone went to town on several cans of baked beans and is probably regretting their life choices. But in reality, it's unrelated to food. It actually means that someone is full of life and energetic.
Why is he so full of beans?
Like, wow, my nephew has been sprinting around the house. He's full of beans. At least in the UK. In the US, weirdly, it means someone is lying or just talking nonsense. For example, Jeff said I've invested all my money into Beanie Babies. No, he's full of beans. Another phrase that includes food is taking the biscuit. This means to find something particularly annoying.
Oh, this really takes the biscuit.
Like, yeah, my neighbour plays the EastEnders theme tune all night. It really takes the biscuit. Number 9. Bob's your uncle.
And quick as you can say, Bob's your uncle.
We Brits have a habit of thrusting the name Bob into our slang, apparently. While this phrase sounds like a literal observation of family lineage, it's actually an expression when describing a task as simple. Like, you take 3 immediate lefts, the second exit on the roundabout, take the 9th right, do a U-turn, then Tokyo drift around the second left, and Bob's your uncle, you're there.
Bob's your uncle. Okay.
This expression is the less elegant equivalent of France's voilà, or the US's equally strange piece of cake. Another Bob-related phrase is bits and bobs.
You're all your bits and bobs for doing your wizardry.
This is just a general term meaning things or various objects. Like, Becca is recording all the bits and bobs she finds on the floor. We don't know why. Number 8. Fancy.
Fancy a game?
This is a word that really depends on its context, as it can mean multiple different things. For starters, it can be used for something posh, expensive, or decorative. Like, that's a fancy molecule you have, but it can also mean wanting to do something.
I fancy you.
For example, do you fancy some cow tipping tonight? If you're a teenager, and if you fancy someone, it means you're attracted to them. Rarely gets used if you're older for some reason. It can just be used if you really like something too. Fancy can also be used for surprise, like fancy seeing my parents at this Eyes Wide Shut themed party. Number 7. Butty.
Where are the clothes?
And where are the bacon butties?
Non-Brits might be thinking this has something to do with the old derriere. Nope. Instead, this is slang for sandwiches. Said to be a shortening for the phrase buttered sandwich, butty is used for all sorts of fillings. Chip butty, bacon butty, egg butty, and whatnot. Basically, if a sandwich contains one major ingredient, you say that, followed by butty.
Bloody hell, my lunch was in that hat. Egg and chips with jam butties.
Speaking of, the phrase jam sandwich is also some fun slang. While it does have a literal meaning, it also refers to police cars. This reason stems from the design of the cop cars in the 70s that featured a white body and a strip of red down both sides, giving the impression of a red berried sandwich. Number 6. Bee's knees. Also an alcoholic beverage that originated in France, this term is used by Brits when describing something delightful.
Like, polite, aren't you the bee's knees?
For example, the person that wrote this video is the bee's knees. The origin of the phrase is unclear. Some believe it has something to do with bees collecting pollen with their fluffy knees, while others think it has something to do with dancer Bee Jackson.
You are the bee's knees.
Another phrase that's confusing, and somewhat related, is good egg. This is used as a compliment for someone who did well, or is generally decent. Like, Mark always makes sure to pick up after his dog. He's a good egg. The phrase is said to be the opposite of bad egg, which is used to criticize someone. Number 5. Getting pissed. This one has nothing to do with urine in this context. Well, at least directly. Instead, it's related to one of the things that the UK is very good at, getting smashed. The drunker you are, the more pissed you get.
Come on, let's get pissed and watch porn.
Simple, really. The usage is said to have originated from as far back as Middle England. We can only assume the phrase comes from the more you drink, the more likely you'll need the toilet as your bladder fills up. Across the pond in the States, getting pissed can also refer to being angry. This can be confusing for UK and US people when the phrase is uttered, since the meaning is usually very different.
Man walks into a bar with a giraffe. They just get pissed. The giraffe falls over.
Number 4. Sod's Law. The word sod is usually used as a mild insult to someone, so to have a whole law for them sounds like it would be bad, and it is. Meaning if anything can go wrong, it will. This phrase has haunted British culture for centuries.
Yeah, opening night. Sod's Law.
Sod's Law would include situations like putting the washing out to dry and then it rains. Or taking the dog for a walk, you have an umbrella, it starts to rain, but the umbrella doesn't open. Or, for one not involving rain, you plan to watch all of Noel's house party on your holiday, but instead have a power cut. The US have their own term called Murphy's Law.
Wish you were coming to hear me.
Sod's Law.
Number 3. Chuffed.
I played 5 eggs this morning. 5! How chuffed with that I was.
This term can be used for anything from quite happy to really delighted, which is very typically British. For example, on the low expression side, I'm chuffed with this cup of tea. On the higher end, I'm chuffed with this cup of tea. Both examples have different serenity levels. The former means adequate, and the latter is really, really the best ever.
So I'm happy about that.
Yes.
Sure.
The slang is said to originate from the phrase puffed with fat, which is apparently a good thing. The word chuff can also be used as an innuendo for the backside and other areas. Speaking of, chuff can also mean breaking wind. It's quite a versatile word.
See, what you done today, you and Joey, you're chuffed up now. And so you should be, my splendid boy.
Number 2. Chav.
Whatever, weirdos.
The chavs are a bit touchy at the moment.
The UK is fascinated by this word, and it's rarely applied as a compliment. Instead, it's used as a label for lower working class youths with behavioural or social problems. Because if there's anything we Brits like more, it's making social class a bigger deal than it is. TV in the 2000s was filled with chav characters.
I'm a chav!
Vicky Pollard in Little Britain, Kelly in Misfits, Lee Nelson, and Lauren in The Catherine Tate Show. Often thought of as a modern invention, the word chav, or chav, has existed in the English language since at least 1860. Makes us wonder what the people that were given this label back then were like. Let us know your best theories below.
Who's gonna get us inside? You and your chav, army?
Number 1. Give me a tinkle on the blower. While we refuse to believe that anyone has used this since the 1960s, this slang is certainly confusing.
Number, should you wish to give me a tinkle?
As tinkle can mean to urinate, which would make blower, well, we'll leave the rest to you. For those confused and concerned about this slang, it just means call me on my telephone. Some believe the phrase originated with sailors and a device for long-distance communication on a ship.
Well, I'll give you a tinkle, shall I?
Known as the speaking tube, a person would blow into it as the other end often had a cork that caused the tube to whistle, basically like a ringing telephone. The receiving sailor would remove the cork, allowing the speaker to, well, speak into the tube. The sound travels along the pipe to the now cork holder. Pretty nifty.